Yeah, I've never done one of your projects ever, so I'm just like completely overwhelmed right now. So anyway,
Well, you are in the right place then, because just about everybody else on the call has done at least one. And there's lots of help to be had. And lots of people have stitched up the butterfly. So
okay.
are you in a Facebook group yet?
Um, I don't know. I'll check.
Because if you go into the Meaning of Life Designs Facebook group, if you have a question and it's not close to a Friday, or specifically the first or the third Friday, you can always jump in, and lots of people in there who will come to your aid within minutes, literally.
No, actually I am. I am on the Facebook group. Okay, I'll do that.
Okay.
Because
So,
I feel silly for asking such silly questions.
there is no silly question ever. Every single person in the Facebook group and in the Zoom room right now was a beginner at some point and had never ever done a Meaning of Life Designs project. And we all start somewhere.
Yeah.
We all start somewhere. So as long as you know how to turn your embroidery machine on, you're in good shape.
Yeah.
So for the butterfly, you're absolutely right. So you said, do you cut the background in one piece and then hoop it as you make it? Do you put the applique on before or after doing the background quilting? Now, there's actually, the butterfly is unique in that there are a couple of different ways you can do it. Check out the chat. Jan says we all ask the silliest questions. Actually, if you haven't seen Jan's daily log of making her Sunshine Cove block, go check that out in the Facebook group. That is such a beautiful example of somebody going in there and saying, help. And, a little bit of encouragement and motivation coming along, and success at the end. And Jan actually did a daily post showing us her progress every day, which was really amazing to watch. So back to the butterfly quilt. 1 second, whilst I have a drink here. Okay. So for the butterfly quilt, you're going to be cutting your background fabric, and you're actually going to be piecing the whole of the quilt top first. Let me pull up the instructions and we can walk through it.
Yeah, I've got my iPad on the side to do that, so I can do two things at once. Yay.
Okay. So now are you making the big butterfly quilt?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me share my screen. There we go. So if you have either downloaded into the Dropbox or use the zip file in the instructions folder, this is what you're going to see. Definitely take a look at the steps of a successful embroidered applique.
Right.
And then you're going to want the Butterfly 100 quilt, and you're also going to want the Butterfly 100 design notes. So let's start in the quilt first. Don't need that. So this is page 2 on just about every single thing that every single document we ever produced, because when you do read through the instructions, you don't necessarily need to read them like intensely the first time around, but definitely kind of scan through and then go through it step by step when you're ready. So here we go. So there's your fabric requirements. Here's your cutting.
Wait. Go. Where did you find the fabric requirements?
On page 4.
On page 4. Okay.
Yeah. So page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4. And we've got 4 different colors. So white is your main background. And then cool is what we used for the applique, and some of the borders and the ocean and pear are borders. Then how to cut each of the colors very specifically and make sure that you label everything.
Mm-hmm.
I like to use post-it notes, or you can get like mini post-it tag things. That they're not they're post-it somethings that, you know how post-it notes are like 3-inch squares. You can get little tiny thick flags that you use on
Right.
page markers in a book. And you can write on them with a pen. So I like to use those to label the fabric, but you definitely want to label everything as you cut it. Some more cutting here. This also is what you're going to cut out for your applique shapes. And you want to make sure for your applique shapes that you've got fusible webbing on the back. And then you can either use the SVG files, or if you have the Applique Go cutters, then you can do that too. Okay, so we're always going to use 1/4-inch seam unless we specify otherwise. I like to trim my seam allowances to 1/8 of an inch. It's not essential. It's just something that I like to do, especially if you've got a dark color and a light color and you have the possibility of needing to press the seam underneath the light color. If you've got if you've trimmed your seam allowance, you can typically hide the fact that you've got a dark color under there. Okay, so step 1, you're going to stitch your butterfly onto your center background, and that's where you need to go to the Butterfly 100 design notes. And that particular document, this one here, will give you all of the details that you need to stitch up your your butterfly. So you're going to start out with your piece of stabilizer, mark up the lines as specified. You're actually going to label them all. And then, which machine are you using? Which machine do you
I have a baby lock.
What size is, what's your biggest hoop?
All I know is it's 9 by 14, so I don't know the
Okay,
other.
so that's 240 by 360 millimeters.
Okay.
So it's always a good idea to know the millimeter version of your hoop size. So 9.5 by 14 or 9 by 14.5, whichever way around, that's the 240 by 360 hoop. So if your hoop's that big, then you're going to do this lot.
Mm-hmm.
This is why you need to read all the way through. If you
Right.
have, it's at least 240 by 320. So your hoop is, if it's 240 by 360, so you can use this set of designs. So you're going to make sure that you go to the designs folder. Let's see, designs folder, butterfly 100, 240 by 320. You want to make sure that you use these designs. And so Baby Lock, you're going to use the PES version.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the designs that you're going to be stitching.
Okay.
So then if we step back a second, okay, you draw we have actually changed the way we write instructions since we wrote the butterfly. You're going to draw up your lines on your piece of stabilizer, and then you're going to center the stabilizer on the wrong side of your piece of background fabric, and you're going to baste along each of the lines. Now, that is, you're going to find all of that information in this Steps for Successful Embroidered Applique. So you got your applique shape preparation. So you cut your background to the size specified. Best press on the butterfly is actually a really good idea. It will just give you that little bit of extra crispness. Cut your stabilizer as specified, draw the markings as specified, center on the wrong side of the background, mark side up, stitch along the lines using a stitch length, 4.46 millimeters, you know, long enough that it's easy to take out, short enough that it's sturdy. And the bobbin thread is actually going to be showing up on the right side of your fabric. So you want to make sure that the bobbin thread is easily visible on your background fabric. So this is actually a really good way of using up those little odds and ends of bobbin thread that you have hanging around. And then you want to press everything, press the background fabric, starting at the center, working to the outside so that you can remove any wrinkles if you should get any. If you do notice everything kind of wrinkling up, then typically it's because your bobbin tension is too tight. Usually when people are using their embroidery machine threaded for embroidery. So just make sure that you're using your embroidery, you're sewing, using sewing settings. Okay, so then you're going, for each of the designs that you need to stitch, you're going to go back to your design note. So you'll notice we've got each of these intersections labeled. And you're going to look at this set of designs. So your first hooping, you're going to stitch this design one center top, and you're going to align it with the C. So to stitch a design, this is where you would need to pop back in here. You want to load a piece of stabilizer into your hoop, load your embroidery machine, stitch color number 1 onto the stabilizer into your hoop. That's always going to be a placement line. We never ever hoop fabric when we're just doing applique. We float the fabric on top of the stabilizer in the hoop. And so color number 1 is always going to be a placement line to show you where to position your background fabric. So you're going to take your fabric off the hoop, off the machine. And my favorite tool is this June Taylor Cushion Quilter Square and Blocker. It's a padded ironing board, but the board in it, actually you can put a pin into it and get yourself a really nice pivot point. Follow the instructions here on how to actually get the background fabric aligned with the stabilizer in the hoop. And I'm going to show you in our YouTube channel, we actually have a video that it will be really easy for you to watch, and it will show you step by step how to do the placement. Let me find it. This is one of those videos that I'm going to put into a playlist all by itself to make it a bit easier to find. Here we go. I am going to pop the link in the chat for you. But if you go to the YouTube, if you go to the Meaning of Life Designs YouTube channel, you're looking for a video that's called How to Position a Machine Embroidery Design Exactly Where You Want It. So for each design, you're going to stitch the placement line on the stabilizer, place your background fabric at whichever intersection it's telling you to do here. So for the next design, where you stitch this section, it's the 2 center bottom design, and you're going to be aligning it with the intersections at H and M. Then you'll have this one, the you want to pay attention to where it's telling you what the heck happened here. You want to pay attention to where it's telling you the top of the background fabric is going to be, because it's not necessarily always going to be at the top of the hoop. You might have to rotate the background fabric 180 degrees, in which case the top is going to be at the bottom of the hoop. This particular design, the top of the background fabric is going to be at the top and to the left. So it's not going to be square, okay? So if you literally go step by step for each hooping, you should come out right in the end. Once you've done the applique, then you are going to follow the instructions to create the borders and trim the borders up. Then for this particular quilt, because the borders are on point, you're going to measure your borders, then you're going to trim the center to match the borders. And add the borders. And as Shirley figured out last week, you want to make sure that you trim your squares, trim the border pieces exactly so that everything is the right size. So once you've done that, you've got your quilt top, then you're going to go to the Midnight Butterfly, and that's where you're going to find all of the quilting designs. And if you want to come back again once you've completed your quilt top, we can definitely go through how to go about quilting it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, this is way over my head.
You know, I think if you ask anyone who's currently sitting here, one step at a time, it's really doable. I get that I've just thrown a ton of stuff at you, like how to do the entire thing from beginning to end. and so you might feel like, oh my gosh, I can't do this, but I'm going to say one thing at a time. So the first thing that you want to do, you want to make the butterfly 100 quilt. So look at the instructions for the butterfly 100 quilt, which is this one. Figure out the fabric colors that you want to use. Okay. As Jan says, you can do it step by step. Jan is the one who documented her, I think it was block 5 of Sunshine Cove in our Facebook group. I'm going to speak on behalf of Jan. I hope you don't mind, Jan, but I would say Jan would be delighted to help you through this. Marilyn as well. Marilyn is just telling me that you can't see my screen. Marilyn is actually the one who stepped up with the encouragement for Jan at the beginning of her Sunshine Cove. So lots of people in our Facebook group who will metaphorically hold your hand as you go step by step. Okay. But first up, figure out which fabric you want to use. What colors do you want? And definitely go look in the Facebook group for butterfly quilts, because there's quite a lot of them in there, and you can see a bunch of different color variations that people have used. Then cut everything up. Make sure you label everything. Then figure out your applique shapes.
And so forth.
Step 1 here, stitch the butterfly 100. Okay, that is a fairly large undertaking. It's one step, but it's a fairly large undertaking. But refer to this document, which is this one here. So you're going to start at the beginning and maybe don't read that number because it's a big one. But start at the beginning, start at this page and mark up your stabilizer, right? Then you're going to jump into this steps for successful embroidery to figure out what in the world am I going to do with that piece of stabilizer. So you can follow the steps in here. And this document will show you, once you've prepared your applique shapes, everything you need to do with the background fabric and your stabilizer. And then for each design you need to stitch, which you're coming into the design notes and going to page, whichever it was for your hoop size, page 16 or page 17 for your hoop size. For every design here, you're going to follow the instructions here, right? And if you're at home and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I've completely forgotten what she said, you can always watch the replay of this meeting as well. It will be in your library. You should have a product in your library called Mel's Get Together, I think.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
And you can go to today's date. Now, it won't appear in your library until Monday of next week.
Okay.
But you can always go back to that and watch our conversation right now over again. And it's also going to be up on YouTube immediately, and it's also going to be on our Facebook page immediately. So you can always go back and watch there as well.
Okay.
But literally one step at a time. I am not immune to this. I have a new business coach, and we had a meeting yesterday, and we were talking about a new project which I want to embark on, and I'm freaking out because it's a huge project, and I'm looking at what's needing to be happening 6 months from now, and she's like, nope, you're not there, you're here. All you need to do now is step one. Don't worry about what's down there. Just this is the only thing that you need to do right now. And I'm going to pass that wisdom on to you. Literally take the first page, do what it says on the first page,
Mm-hmm.
then do the next page. And it might send you off to a different document, but even if you get the different document, then you're just going to do one page at a time. Okay?
Okay.
And we've got you. Everybody on the Zoom call, we are here to root for you. Everybody in our Facebook group, we are here to root for you. If you've got questions and you're having a freak out moment and you're like, I don't want to do this anymore, I give up, don't ever do that. Come on a call here or jump in the Facebook group and say, help, I don't know what to do. And somebody will jump in and give you a pointer in the right direction.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm so happy that you're here, Lisa.
Thanks.